Well, I would say good morning, Vietnam, but let's just say good evening, Vietnam. I'm going to give it just a second here just to make sure that the audio is good. It looks good on my end, but um, just to make sure. So if anybody is online right now, feel free to let me know if you can hear me. And let me get the screen. I wish I did live streams a lot more often than what I do because by the time that I do them, I get out of the habit of doing it and I forget a couple of things, so I got to move stuff around. But it's kind of multitasking as far as what's on the screen, chat pop outs, and all that stuff. So, okay, Jeff Winters. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing? Let me go ahead and click that. Let's see. Why is my chat scroll not working? My chat's supposed to pop out here. Interesting. See, that's why I say I wish I did live streaming a lot more. My chat scroll is not popping up here for me to. Give me just a second here, because I'd like to be able to pop up your comments. Let's see, man. Send text message to endpoint. Oh well. So you're doing good, Jeff? Well, that's good. I'm doing good here. You could probably hear the air conditioning window unit in the background. This is Texas, so it's always nice and steamy. And today we had some massive thunderstorms earlier in the day, which just left us with, nice humid conditions. We're going to talk about GoPro. So this is the thumbnail that I put up for GoPro. And it's a judge hammering the gavel or going out of business. And the reason that I did that, because on June the 1st, which was on Monday, GoPro had made some interesting comments regarding their financials. And before I get into this, let me just do a quick little disclaimer, okay? Everything I'm going to talk about on this live stream regarding GoPro is strictly speculation only, and it's for entertainment purposes, and it's only my opinion. And I say that just because, don't want GoPro breathing down my neck, that way that they can stay in business. But Nick Woodman started GoPro, and this was a headliner, The Rise and Fall of GoPro, which says it all, but says it has substantial doubt the company can survive for another year. That is rough because, GoPro, they never did release the Hero 14. And when they didn't release the Hero 14, it kind of set them back just a little bit. And what I mean, it set them back a little bit. It gave the competition, which is going to be DJI and Insta360, an opportunity to really put out some more products and get their products into customers' hands. And when that kind of stuff happens, it's very unfortunate because people, they start to like, whether it's Insta360 or DJI products like the Osmo Nano here. And I think it was a mistake on their part to skip a camera release last year. But then again, I think with the GP2 chip that they had gotten to a point to where they could no longer squeeze out any more performance out of that GP2 chip and call it a GoPro Hero 14 with just whether it was 1 or 2% improvement. So they had to develop this GoPro Hero, the GP3 chip and be able to squeeze out some more performance. And I do want to make a comment because I did put up a short talking about the GoPro Mission 1 Pro and why it was a hard pass for me. And it was amazing because, the same thing happens in the camera market, whether it's with Sony or Canon, but you have fanboy camps that are all Canon or all Sony or all Insta360 or DJI or GoPro. And yes, GoPro has been around for a long time, and I do appreciate the fact that they've been around for a long time, and they were the innovators. They're the ones that really set the market on fire with action cameras and getting them into the hands of surfers. And then a lot of people were using them all the time. And, they were the king. I think when the GoPro Hero 13 got released and Insta360 and DJI got to release some cameras, I think it really put GoPro in a position where they were no longer king. They didn't have the throne. And I do want to talk a little bit about, where's my image here? So this is the GoPro Mission 1 Pro. And it looks really, really good. And it's got a lot of performance tweaks. And when I say that, I want to preface it with, like the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. It can do 8K 30 frames per second. The GoPro Mission 1 Pro can do 8K at 60 frames per second. So that's a big leap up. It can do 960 frames per second. It can do 4K at 240 frames per second. So these are all great improvements. And with those improvements, yes, there's going to be a little bit of a sticker shock. But for $700, that to me was too much of a sticker shock. Because that's $700 plus tax. And I understand, I had some people in the comments of that short talking about, well, if you're a GoPro subscriber, you can get it for $599. It's okay, $600 plus tax. Yeah, but that subscription costs you money too. So to me, that was a lot of money. And then I had people talking about, why in the world would I compare the GoPro Mission 1 Pro for $700 compared to the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. And the reason that I did that was not because the Sony is waterproof, and it's not because it is an action camera. It's strictly talking about your dollar value. So yes, the GoPro Mission 1 Pro has a 1-inch sensor, but you know what? There's an APS-C size sensor inside the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, which is substantially larger. We're talking about almost 3 times larger in surface area. So the reason that I did that comparison was strictly just for financials, to say, hey, this is a lot of money. This is why I'm not going to get an action camera. And then I had somebody else comment in saying, well, you don't have it, and that's why you're trashing it. And it's like, no, I mean, I choose to spend my money on products, especially if it's, okay, like GoPro. I don't have a relationship with GoPro at all. So if I want to review a GoPro, I have to pay for it out of my pocket. And just for all the people out there to know, I have got the GoPro Hero 5 all the way through the 13. So I've been a GoPro spender. I've spent a ton of money on GoPro cameras, and I do like GoPro. GoPro doesn't like me because I called out the Hero 9 for the audio popping problem, and then they even commented in the comment section of one video that I did that they had removed the GoPro forums talking about the GoPro Hero 9 popping issue, and then they got on there and got kind of nasty saying that they didn't move the forums, they didn't remove it. Well, okay, technically they didn't remove it, but they hid that portion of the forum on a whole different page to where you had to really go looking for it. I'm going to get into the chat here. I apologize about my chat pop-out not working because I do like having the ability to add the chat pop-out so that I can have your comments pop up on the screen. Let's see. Jeff Winter doing good. Jeff Winter GoPro is a much small company that the other problem is that a lot of the countries are boycotting the USA, so we cannot get what we got before. Very true, Jeff. Juan Marta, aloha from Hawaii. Hey, Hawaii. I like Hawaii. We went to Oh, I forgot the name of the island. The one that's got the mountain, Diamond Head. We've been to we've been there twice. First time I went to Diamond Head, I chickened out trying to go up it, and I beat myself up for years regarding that. And then finally got to go back again to Hawaii, and that was my nemesis, and I had to conquer that, and got to the top of Diamond Head, and that was a great experience. Let's see. So GoPro, are they going to be around for a while? I don't think so. And I think that either they're going to get bought out. Well, who would buy them? So would DJI buy GoPro? No, because DJI is a Chinese company, and DJI has been basically, for all intents and purposes, it's been banned from the U.S. So their new products cannot come out to the U.S. And yes, we'll talk about extra here in just a moment. Excuse me. But so it wouldn't be DJI. Would it be NASA? Because NASA's been using GoPros on the Artemis missions, and they've been giving them to some of the astronauts to use. No, I don't think NASA, that's in the space industry, is going to think about getting into the action camera market. Then there's a lot of rumor about Garmin. Well, Garmin had the Verb that they attempted to get into the action camera market. And, you know, if you can't innovate, I can see where Garmin may purchase GoPro. But when you have Nick Woodman, I mean, you know, let's rewind a little bit. When their IPO first came out, it, on the first day, generated $4 billion in value. That's crazy, right? That was 2000, don't quote me, I think it was 2011. Now its market value is in the $200 to $300 million range. So massive difference between that. And then you look at their creditors. And I'll give you a little financial statement that, let's see. So PwC, Price Waters, which has audited GoPro since 2011, said GoPro has incurred operating losses and negative operating cash flows and has obligations under its financing arrangements, which become due within the next 12 months if certain covenants are not met. Well, that's part of the equation. Here's another part. GoPro now is telling investors on Monday, by the way, that's Monday, June the 1st, that it may not survive the next 12 months. In an 8K file with the SEC on Monday, the action camera maker refiled its 2025 financial statements with a notable addition. Its auditor, PricewaterhouseCoopers, now warns of substantial doubt about the company's ability to continue as a going concern. Yeah. So if you have their auditors telling the market that, and you have GoPro telling its investors that, that could potentially be a problem, because that's almost admitting to a point that GoPro will not be around. And there's only a couple of options. If they don't get bought out by a company that continues on, then they'll get purchased by a venture capitalist company that will take all of GoPro's, because GoPro does have a lot of patents when it comes to their stabilization and all that, and also with the GP3 chip and the GP2 and GP1 for that matter. But I think that they would get partitioned out, kind of sold out into different pieces. And what I mean by that is that they would sell off patents and sell off this and sell off that until they got to a point to where everything's been sold and GoPro is no longer GoPro. Or, you know, because if you think about it, GoPro, when it first started, Nick Woodman, and it's funny because, you know, Nick Woodman got a action camera from China and just rebranded it. And that's how he started GoPro. And you see a lot of companies doing that, whether it's a Conso or SJ Cam or Thei, Firefly from back in the day. You could get a bulk ordered action camera and you could brand it whatever you wanted to. I could have it branded Andre's action camera and put it to market. And if it went real well, then, hey, I call myself a company and I sell action cameras, even though it's mass produced in China. And, GoPro is a United States based company, but it's also a company that the GoPros are manufactured in Taiwan, in China. So is it everything completed here, everything built here? No, it's not. Before I get too much off of track here, there's another statement. That means that the going concern doubt has not been lifted. Without a sale, a debt waiver, or significant cash infusion, GoPro faces a real possibility of filing for bankruptcy protection. The company that once defined action camera category is now fighting for its survival. And yeah. So GoPro has a lot of outstanding debt. And GoPro last year, its sales were 33% down versus the year before. And as of April, their sales were abysmal. So what went wrong? And I'm not saying that the GoPro Mission 1 line is a bad camera. That's not what I'm saying. So to all of the GoPro fanboys out there that think that I'm a GoPro hater, I'm not. I mean, secretly, deep down, I was really hoping for them to come around. And whether it was get back up on top, but at least get right there back in the mix of it financially as well. And what I mean by financially is their price point on their products. Because $700 for an action camera. Somebody said, no, you can't consider an action camera. It's a cinema camera. It's a 1-inch sensor. It is not a cinema camera. It does not have a full frame sensor in it. I mean, them talking about a GoPro Mission 1 Pro with a 1-inch sensor being a cinema camera, just for perspective, did you know that the Insta360 X5, the 360 camera, that the X5 has been used in a motion picture that's coming up? Yeah. So could you call that now a cinema camera? I don't know. I think that GoPro's big mistake was, and this is with the caveat, okay, they didn't launch anything last year. There was no GoPro Hero 14. I don't think that there's going to be another Hero line. I think Mission is probably going to be the new Hero, whether you have the Mission 1 and then the Mission 2 and the Mission 3. And, I hate to ever see a company go out or go down. So hopefully there'll be a Mission 3 and a Mission 4. I think GoPro's mistake was that they leaked so much information about the Mission 1, the Mission 1 Pro, and then the Mission 1 ILS. And let me show you the ILS just for giggles. So it's an action camera with a micro four thirds mount. Now, it would be great if it had a micro four thirds sensor in it, but it's got a 1-inch sensor, but a micro four thirds mount. Will that make it a little bit more cinematic? I would imagine so, considering that you can put a better lens on it than what would normally come with an action camera. But if you notice, let me show you again, there's no electronics. So on the bottom of the lens attachment, there's no electronics to it. So what does that mean? That means it's going to be a manual focus situation set up with the Mission 1 ILS. For those that have shot manual lenses or used a manual focus puller or an electronic focus puller, having a manual lens is not a problem. I mean, all I've got to do is take my FX3 or FX30 or whatever camera it is that I'm shooting with and turn on the focus peaking on the screen. And that way, when I have an external monitor on, I can see my focus peaking and manually focus. That's great. I think that their mistake was showing off all three and then saying, okay, you can have the Mission 1, you can have the Mission Pro, which offers more features, but it's $700. And then we have this ILS that will also be $700. And then you still have to buy your own lenses for it. I think it got people to a point to where they're kind of like just in a conundrum. Okay, do I want the Mission 1? Do I want the Mission Pro or Mission 1 Pro? Or do I want the Mission 1 ILS? Well, if I get the 1 Pro right now, and then the ILS comes out, and I'll talk about that. It's coming out in September. At least that's what the latest rumors are. So it's going to come out in September, which is normally when GoPro releases cameras. So their traditional release date is always September. GoPro Hero 8, GoPro Hero 9, it's always September. That's their strategy. And here it is. It got released in May. But it was talked about back at NAB. And there's been a lot of leaks. And I will say that one thing, and it's not just about GoPro, I think the whole camera market regarding action cameras has changed dramatically, where you would get like a little leaked image and maybe a little bit of leak of speculation about what the specs were going to be of it. And now they're just releasing videos even before launch date. They're giving these cameras out to reviewers to release videos, but you know, I'll say it's like with Insta360. They've got the Luna Ultra, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on one. But they had all these influencers go out and talk about it to a certain point. A lot of stuff that I can't disclose. I can't show you the back of the camera. And so the whole marketing strategy with action cameras has really changed. I don't know if that's for good or for bad, because it still comes down to the point of you're getting influencers that get the product early. They're probably getting paid for it. And, you know, no shame on those that are getting paid, because, hey, you got to pay bills, and I totally understand that. But you're not getting an honest opinion about a product, because it's a paid. It's like if I'm selling a house and I'm not going to hire someone to do a video of a house that I've just put onto the market and have them talk trash about the house. Well, you know, the house is really nice, and it's 2 stories, and it's 4,000 square feet, but it's got a little bit of plumbing leaks, and the roof has got a bad spot over here. No, you know, I'm paying somebody to shoot a real estate property, and I expect them to show it in its best light. Don't talk about anything negative. So I can understand why these influencers that are being paid and get the products early, how they're not talking bad about the products. They're showing the best potential of the products. So I get that. Let me take a sip of coffee here. Let's see. Juan Marta, Oahu. Yes, that is it. Do you think the GoPro 3 and earlier are going to be worth anything in the future, like vintage? I've never had a GoPro 3, and I've never had a GoPro Hero 4. My first GoPro was the GoPro Hero 5, and I think that for nostalgia or vintage, yeah, I think that those still have a value. I mean, you know, you've got Tony Northrup, who put out a video yesterday talking about this very thing about GoPro, and he went so far to say he does not recommend anybody buy a GoPro, period, in the story. And as much as I like Tony Northrup and his wife, Chelsea, I will have to disagree politely, because I think that to tell someone to not buy a product could potentially, especially if you have that big of a following, you could potentially hurt a certain percentage of sales, whether it's even a half of 1%. You're still hurting the percentage of sales for a company. And then he made a point about, well, about future support, firmware updates, software updates, etc. Well, the way I look at it is, you know what? These cameras have been around. My GoPro Hero 5 still works just fine. The GoPro Hero 6, which I think was a piece of junk, but it still works just fine, just like the day I got it. The GoPro Hero 7, the 8, the 9 I still got with its audio popping, although I stick it in a media mod, and that helps slightly. You got to let the camera warm up a little bit. And then I got the 10, the 11, the 12, and the 13. And has GoPro put out firmware updates for those cameras? Yes. I believe there was only, 2 or 3 for the 13. And, there's no more GoPro Hero 5 firmware updates that have been released in forever. And the camera still works. So I don't think that mental methodology to say that, GoPro is going to be out of business, so don't buy a GoPro because you'll never get a firmware update. I can see from a warranty standpoint, or even with the GoPro Hero Labs, because the Labs is supposed to be a way where you can get a little bit more performance out of your GoPro. I've never used GoPro Hero Labs or GoPro Labs on any of my cameras. Probably should before they bite the dust. Let me get back into chat here. Jeff, the one major thing that will change with action cameras, the batteries will move from lithium to solid state batteries. Interesting. I know that there's a big shift right now with a lot of these cameras that do not have replaceable or interchangeable batteries. And I know that was a big thing back when DJI first released the Pocket 1, and everybody ranted and raved, and they were complaining up a storm that the Pocket 1, it doesn't have a replaceable battery. What's going to happen when the battery's life cycle chokes out and you can't, it's just going to be a couple $100 brick. I still got my Pocket 1. I'm going to be doing a video here pretty soon about the Pocket 1 versus the Pocket 3 versus the Extra Muse. But the Pocket 1 still works. The Pocket 1 was a great camera for what it was back in the day, but it still works. The battery still charges up. I mean, it may be only 90% of what its battery life was at new, but it's something to think about. So I don't know, who knows at this point where the action camera market's going to go, because you've got, and here's an interesting fact. Well, I say fact, speculation. So you've got GoPro that just released the Mission 1 Pro, 8K at 60 frames per second. Insta360 still has not released the Ace Pro 3 yet. And if you don't think that they, whether it's Insta360 or DJI, is not sitting back going, okay, let's see what GoPro is going to do. Okay, well, we'll see your 8K 30 and or your 8K 60, and we'll raise you to 8K 120. That would be a big ask, or they may match it, but have some different offerings. Maybe they'll do 300 frames per second in 4K instead of 240 frames. I got a couple notes here. I had somebody say that I was an Insta360 shill. Okay, yes, I am wearing an Insta360 baseball cap. I do have a lot of Insta360 products. I've got a lot of DJI products. So I am neutral when it comes to action camera game. Neutral. If SJ Cam comes out with a good performing camera that its dollar is worth its performance. Now, granted, SJ Cam will never perform like a GoPro or Insta360 or DJI. But if it performs well for its dollar value, I've got no problem with that. I will talk very well about it. I will still talk about some shortcomings, but I guarantee you that DJI and Insta360, they're sitting back because, DJI, already released the Action 6. So what's to say that Action 6 Pro or 7 Pro is not coming down the pike? Let's see, Jeff. I had the first GoPro. Have to replace the battery a few times. That is built into the camera. See, I don't even. If I remember correctly, I saw a picture of the GoPro 1. Isn't it the one that's kind of like rounded? Kind of reminds you of like a kid's camera. If that's the one that you're talking about, then wow, you've had more action cameras than I have, Jeff. Let's see, another quick note. Let's see, I talked about why did GoPro mess up with the launch? They talked about that Micro Four Thirds version, and they just dumped all three. And I think that that's where the big mistake was. And they released it in May, which is fine. They're trying to revitalize the company. They're trying to grab as much income as possible. And, when you look at a lot of the sponsorships that GoPro does, because GoPro, they're looking at laying off 24% of their workforce. And for them to remove 24% of their workforce, it's to make the financials look a little bit better on paper. And to look better but cost people their job instead of innovating and having a better marketing or innovation strategy, I don't know. And, if they're talking about bankruptcy, and right now, if they talk about bankruptcy, all it takes is for one of their creditors to call that card and say, we're going to go ahead and call your loan. I guarantee you, when they call that loan, then you're going to have these other, and I think Wells Fargo is one of their financial backers where they've got loans through. I guarantee you Wells Fargo is going to jump right on board because they're going to say, hey, we got to get our money. Before they file bankruptcy, because, you file bankruptcy, then you run a risk of you may only get pennies on a dollar of what GoPro owes you. And then, GoPro's already committed $24 million into chip purchases. And the way things are going, they're going to have to buy them. And if they don't, they're going to end up paying $100 million. So, I've got the best hopes for GoPro, but I will not, and to the one guy that made a comment telling me that I need to go out and go buy it and just shut up and see how great that it is and notice that it's a fantastic cinema camera. You know what? You go buy it for me. You buy it for me and you send it to me, and I'll be more than happy to check it out. And I'll even do it as I'll check it out, review it, and I'll send it right back to you, because I'm not going to have someone tell me what I need to spend my money on. And for me to spend $700 on an action camera, and I don't care what anybody says, it may have all these better features and it can shoot 8K60 and all this jazz, but its body style is just slightly bigger than what the Hero line was. And the Hero line is an action camera. And just because they're putting a Micro Four Thirds mount on the front of the Mission 1 ILS does not make it a cinema camera. It's still an action camera that you're going to get a little bit more cinematic quality video out of. But at the end of the day, the Mission 1 Pro is a waterproof camera. Why is it waterproof? Because it's an action camera. And I think $700 plus tax for an action camera is way too much. I understand it offers more. Charge $550 for it. I think $499, that seems to be the price. $499, $549. When you start getting above $600, that's DSLR money. That is mirrorless camera money. Or it's, like I said in the short, for the same amount of money, you can get two of the Ace Pro 2s and still have a little bit of money left over. And yes, this doesn't shoot AK-60. I'll never shoot AK-60. I don't need it. At least now I don't. Let me get back to comments here. First GoPro, Cheesy Grits. Hello, Cheesy Grits. Howdy from way south Alabama. How you doing, Cheesy? How's the weather over there? Alabama should be nice and steamy. Who'll be the next king of action cameras? And the next comment, I don't know, or I don't think the next one is even being created yet. I think right now, I have to think about this. I think that right now, the Mission 1 Pro is probably the king of action cameras from the perspective of the tech and the specs that it offers, forgetting about the price. Just talking about specs right now. But GoPro got to a point to where they started lagging behind with very small little improvements between the 10 to the 11, the 11 to 12, the 12 to 13, and they couldn't squeeze out any more performance out of that GP2 chip, that they didn't release the 14, and they gave Insta360 and DJI an opportunity to swoop right in and become number one, number two, and push GoPro to number three. Even though I say that the GoPro Mission 1 Pro may be the king of action cameras right now, I don't know how many people are going to go out and go buy one. And I'm not telling you not to buy one. If you got $700 plus tax burning a hole in your pocket and you want that 240 frames per second at 4K, then by all means, you need to go out and go get it. Because I'm not telling you what to get and what not to get. I'm just telling you what I'm not going to get, because I'd have to spend my money for it, and I can choose to spend my money on what I think would be a better investment for me. But this video is just talking. I wanted to circle back a little bit on that short video that I did and why I said it was a hard pass for me. It was strictly about money. It's not saying that GoPro is a bad camera or that this Mission 1 Pro is a bad camera. It's just, it's a lot of money for me. And I think it may be a lot of money for the average action camera person out there that's looking for an action camera. And God forbid you already got a GoPro 13, and then you got the DJI Action 5 Pro, and then you've got an Insta360 action camera. Wow. To get the GoPro, now you're going to have to start selling off some cameras, because do you really need that many action cameras? At least that's what my wife tells me. I put it here on my notes that the reason that GoPro did this release in May was because, they were getting their lunch ate by Insta360 and by DJI, and I do believe that. So, what's the future of GoPro going to be? I have no idea. I wish them well. Somebody had said, well, Nick Woodman is probably, his net worth is probably close to around $1 billion. And if that's true, then why doesn't he just buy up the company, buy up all the stock, go back to private? And I don't think he's going to do that, because if I had $1 billion and I've got a company, GoPro, and I'm talking about possibly filing for bankruptcy or looking for a buyer, which he did say he's actively looking for a buyer for GoPro. And what I'm looking at, I just want to see what the stock finished out at. Stock today finished at $1. A week ago, they were at $1.30. A month ago, they were at $1.46. And they released the Mission 1 Pro, and their stock price is dropping. That doesn't bode well, especially because you don't see a whole lot more chatter about the GoPro Mission 1 Pro. And I don't know. I think we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. My speculation is that I don't think right now, in the economy that we're in right now, with everything being, I mean, from gas prices being up and groceries being up and all that stuff, I think that GoPro will end up either getting bought out by a capital venture company and being parted out, pieced out. I don't think that they'll get $400 million for the company. I don't think that they'll get $200 million for the company, unless the venture capital company can make $100 million in selling all the patents, or they're going to file bankruptcy and they're going to have to liquidate, or their lenders right now are going to call up their markers and say, time to pay up. And if that's the case, GoPro's done, because they don't have cash on hand. Because I think what I saw in the financials 2 days ago was that they've got like $42 million cash on hand. That's nowhere near what their debt is. I mean, I don't think that's 10% of what they owe. And if that's the case, they're pretty much done. So, you know, I wish GoPro luck. I hope that it all works out. I think GoPro, that if you want to really make an impact, knowing that the economy is the way that it is, and you want to, you know, of course, if you discount the GoPro Mission 1 Pro down to $499 or $549, that you're probably going to piss off a lot of people that just spent $700 on that camera, and they may be within their return period where that they can get their money back. But I think that you would be able to get the camera into a lot more hands, and a lot more people would be able to appreciate its quality. A friend of mine is actually getting the GoPro Mission 1 Pro, and said after he plays with it for a little while, he'll let me borrow it for a couple of days. So I may end up putting up a little My Thoughts review on the GoPro Mission 1 Pro, or I may not. I don't know. I don't like doing reviews on products that I'm not going to use and keep long term. I mean, when I say keep, I mean, here is the Insta360 Go 3. Let me get that to focus. By the way, I'm using the Insta360 Link Pro right now. My first time using it on the live stream. So the Go 3 still works. Still have it. Why do I have it? Because I like to do long-term reviews, and I also like to do some comparisons between cameras. Let's see. Jeff, I think they might get bought by Walmart or Amazon or a dash camera company. Well, you know, Garmin, they do make dash cameras. You know, Garmin's really big. I mean, I remember the first Garmin thing I ever bought. I bought for my wife, which was a little GPS map. What do you call those? Yeah, you know, a little GPS map thing. It was a little silver little box with a screen on it, and you could update it with the SD card for new rows. But that was for her ability to be able to, she could punch in an address and it would take her right to it. And, you know, they do a lot of stuff with heartbeat and elevation and speed and direction and all that stuff. But then again, Insta360 does that. So if you have the Insta360 GPS remote, it will log all that information into the video file. And then in editing, you can put up your distance, miles per hour, and all that. So I don't know. Let's see. Cheesy Grits. The end is near. I'm not psychic, but if I was a betting man, if GoPro doesn't discount the camera and get it into a lot of people's hands where there's a lot of organic, not paid, but organic chatter about this new line of cameras, Yeah, I think that they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. At least that's my thought. Cheese and grits, I still have my Thii. Which one do you have? Because I've got, Thii. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Got 3 or 4 of the Thii cameras. Really good camera, good image quality. Unfortunately, stabilization just was just so rudimentary on those action cameras back then. I mean, you moved a little bit and the whole image just would jerk over to the left or right or up or down. But if you try to walk a little bit of a ninja walk, you got pretty decent image stabilization out of them. But anyway, here it is, 7:40. I didn't want to make this a long live stream. I just wanted to talk about GoPro and their future and kind of get your opinion about what you thought is going to happen with GoPro. What do you think about the Mission 1 Pro? Did you want to buy one? My whole thing was about its future and how delicate of a situation that it is right now with GoPro, and how I just don't know if they're going to be able to survive. I just don't know. Don't know. Cheese and grits 4K native. Yes, sir. 4K native out of the Thii. Such a good brand. I wish that Thii would get back into the game. I wish that Akaso would invest a little bit of money with their engineers and get something going. I wish, I kind of given up on SJ Cam. I think SJ Cam is really stuck with their interpolated 4K, which is fake 4K. It's just upscaled. Firefly made a really good camera. Let's see, Cheese and Grits, the first 4K native. Ooh. I don't know if it was Thii that was first 4K native. I'm trying to think of which Thii it was, because I know the SJ7 Star had an Umbrella chip in it, and it was running native 4K, and I know one of the Thiis had the Umbrella chip that was running native 4K. I just don't know which one was first. So since I can't remember because I'm old now, I'm going to go ahead and go with your quote there that they were the first ones of 4K native of the inexpensive budget action cameras. But anyway, thank you very much for joining this live stream. I know it's kind of unusual for me to do one on a Thursday. I try to do them on Friday nights or over the weekend. But, I was just seeing everything that was going on and reading all these negative comments on that short video that I did, where it's just constant bashing about, if I didn't like GoPro, I wouldn't have the 5 through the 13. Period. End of story. I mean, I like GoPro. I've had some problems with GoPros where they froze and they overheated. And I think everybody that's ever had a GoPro has experienced a freeze where they had to open up the battery door, pull the battery out, plug it back in, and hope to God that that video file is saved. But yeah, GoPro, I wish them the best. Nick or anybody with GoPro, if you're watching, I'm not telling you your business. You're a multi-millionaire, maybe a billionaire, and you're running a multi-million-dollar company that's been around for quite a while. Does that mean that you can take my advice? Probably shouldn't. But I would say that get the GoPro Mission 1 Pro in a lot more users' hands so that there's an organic buzz, not a paid buzz, where you get, and I'm not calling out any of these YouTubers by name, but that you get somebody that you didn't have to pay to do a commercial for your product. Get it out in real reviewers' hands, real everyday people, because there's a lot of people that they kind of do like a product review because they have it in their hands and they talk about it, how much they like it, and they show it off, and they're not really basically a review channel. But then so many people, they watch videos and they try to ignore the noise of the influencers that are trying to show off a product, and they're just trying to see the image. Does the image look good? Like on the the Insta Luna Ultra, the first firmware, the image didn't look that good on it, to be honest. I've seen some recent videos that the image looks a lot better, but of course this is beta firmware because the camera hasn't been released yet, and I'm looking forward to Insta 360 coming out with the Ace Pro 3. I'm really excited about Extra because, you know, there's going to be some people that say, oh, well, Extra is just DJI side skirting the government and everything. You know, I don't know what side of the fence that you're on regarding the politics of all of that, but DJI specifically asked, yes, please audit us, audit our products, audit the drones, audit our application to see that we are not a national security threat. And what did the government do? Government passed. They never did the audit. And they just asked DJI and said, nope, you're on the ban list now. So for those of us that like DJI products, so I'm going to use this one here. Yes, I do have the Mic 3 just magnetically attached to the back of the Nano. But then you've got the Extra Atto. That is less expensive than the DJI. And it's readily available. What's wrong with that? And then they've got, okay, you can get the DJI Action 5 Pro, but you can get the Extra Edge Pro. If I can get that to focus right there. Which is a DJI Action 5 Pro. Let's see, I'm going to show a couple more and then we'll call it an end. DJI Pocket 3. Or you can get the Extra. Oh, I hit the microphone. Or you can get the Extra Muse, which is a DJI Pocket 3. And Extra, they are coming out with the Muse 2, which will be the Pocket 4. And they're also coming out with the Muse 2 Pro, which is a DJI Pocket 4P. And I know that nobody's talking about it being a Pro, but I mean, that's what the P has to stand for. So, yeah, you know, Extra, I like the fact that they're doing that. I'm going to do something here real quick. I'm going to put this back up on the screen. And for those of you that don't know, so got too many screens here I got to pull up. I'm going to put up some links here. It's telling me I got too many characters. Oh well, this is what it is. I was going to put up some links to the Extra because Extra has got a huge sale. Take a look at my last video that I did. The Extra Atto, the Extra Edge Pro, the Sphera 360, which is like the DJI 360, and the Extra Muse. Massive Prime Day sale. And it's going on from the 2nd of June all the way to June 22nd. And I've got a coupon code. So you click my affiliate link, and yes, I do earn a commission off of that. But it doesn't cost you any more. And you put in my little coupon code, and it will give you the lowest price that Extra is ever going to be on sale for those 2 products, or those 4 products, excuse me. Cheesy Grit. I like Thursdays for this. Well, Thursdays work for me, at least until volleyball season kicks back up. Since our daughter plays club volleyball, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are the 2-hour practice from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And now that we've changed clubs, she's got I have a long drive to take her out to practices. Do one every 2 weeks when possible. You know, I'd like to get into a habit, Cheesy Grits, where I can say, okay, live stream will be this day, every day of the week. It's just right now, it's like really crazy when you have a high schooler that is now going into 10th grade. She's going to be a sophomore. and she plays basketball for schools. She plays volleyball for schools. She plays club volleyball. One of the club basketball teams has asked her to come on free of charge. So basically a scholarship situation. Same thing happened with club volleyball. She got a scholarship. So we get to save thousands of dollars. But anyway, I want to go ahead and close out this live stream. I want to say thank you very much for joining. If you're doing a rewatch of this live stream, definitely comment down in the comment section. Let me know, what do you think about GoPro? Are they going to survive? Are they going to file bankruptcy? Are they going to get their notes called by the financial institutions? Are they going to sell? Or are they going to stick around? And what about the Mission 1 Pro? Are you going to buy one? Or are you going to think about it for a little while? Anyway, let me know down in the comment section. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. And I wish you guys a very good evening and a good weekend. And I'll look at the schedule and see if I can schedule something out. I'd like to be consistent, at least do it every week. But yeah, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.